Quote, if PLA bioplastic does leak out, it also will not biodegrade in the ocean, says Jembeck. It's really not any different from those industrial polymers. It can be composted in an industrial facility, but if the town doesn't have one, then it's not any different, end quote. Dr. Carver's solution is the prime example of a nexus-thinking agricultural chemist could have negated all those issues. Peanuts are, as we've said, nitrogen-fixing perennials, though they're commercially grown as an annual for perverse reasons. And as such, they need no plowing, no chemical fertilizers, and technically they do not require herbicides or pesticides, which isn't to say that they aren't being used on them. As the National Peanut Board tells it, quote, it's important to understand that glyphosate is not used on peanuts during the season because it's not a Roundup-ready crop. According to Dr. Prosko, quote, growers do not apply glyphosate on peanuts during the growing season, but some farmers use glyphosate to manage weeds prior to planting. Dr. Prosko explains about two kinds of tillage practices used by Georgia's farmers, conventional and reduced or strip tillage. Using conventional tillage prior to planting, a farmer churns up or tills the ground to receive the seeds. This tilling process gets rid of the weeds, so herbicides such as glyphosate are not needed to clear the field of unwanted weeds. Reduced or strip tillage is a practice of minimizing soil disturbance and allowing crop residue, stubble or weeds to remain on the ground. And Dr. Prosko said farmers who practiced reduced or strip tillage often do use glyphosate to manage unwanted weeds prior to planting season, end quote. We, of course, champion no-till farming as a drawdown solution for regenerative agriculture, but there are ways to do it without the awful glyphosate. Carver, with different goals born of environmental justice concerns, would have seen to that with his incipient permaculture instincts. So the peanut plastic that he invented, and a host of other bioplastics he introduced to Henry Ford, including hemp and soy plastics, out of which Ford eventually built prototype car bodies, could have saved the South and the North in many other ways. But as with the death of Walt Disney derailing the original plans for Epcot to become a real working city of sustainability, the deaths of Carver and Ford put their dreams in the hands of people who didn't have the same vision and were subject to the retardation the politics of short-term profit inevitably creates. But the good news is that the ideas and the techniques were and are all there. In the intrigo for this section, we touched on drawdown number 47, bioplastics, with a first cost of $19 billion to retool, while reducing 4.3 gigatons of CO2. The book claims that regarding the net savings, the data is too indefinite to be modeled. But since conservative estimates show that total production of plastic in general is expected to grow from 311 million tons in 2014 to somewhere between 792 million to 1 billion tons by 2050, with more plastic in the sea than fish, biopolymers like those that Carver was working on are crucial because we're able to make the plastic out of the peanut shell waste products already in abundance. And our book informs us that the major constraint to the bioplastic solution is, quote, limited biomass feedstock available without additional land conversion. And land conversion, or landscape change, is a huge driver of climate change. So we don't want that. But I have firsthand experience with waste biomass to plastic production. I was part of the Google Science Fair judge team for 7 years and awarded a prize to Elif Bilgin, a 16-year-old Turkish student who I was able to bring on stage with me at a National Geographic event in Istanbul to demonstrate the bioplastic she made in her kitchen out of waste banana peels.